So for those of you who don't know, Michelle is the Vice President of Digital Innovation at Ulta Beauty. During her 10 years at Ulta Beauty, she's managed guest-facing systems. And 4 years ago, she launched the Digital Innovation team. Her team is global, and so she has quite a few offices in the US, as well as one in Uruguay. So that was a fun conversation. Michelle is a technologist at heart, and we're thrilled to share with the brands and marketers listening in some of the digital innovation projects and marketing strategies that she's implemented to help connect with consumers. So thanks so much, Michelle, for taking the time to talk to all of us today. We're really excited that you're here.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Mandy. And I also want to thank, the Brand Innovators team for having us a part of this panel. We're always kind of thrilled to share our story. And Mandy, to yourself and Christine McConnell, who also helped, kind of get leading up to this, really appreciate all the help. So very excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, so we've had quite a few, as you just mentioned, quite a few prep discussions to make sure we could create some great content for today. And one of those discussions was around the digital innovation team and how you use virtual try-on tools. I played around with them a little bit myself, but there was the Shade Finder, there's Glam Lab, how you use those tools to actually enhance the in-store experience. And so we were hoping you would tell us a little bit more about that, because I think the way that you're using these tools is maybe a little different than some folks would expect.
Perfect. So we're delighted. We're always thrilled to kind of talk about Glam Lab, which is our virtual try-on tool, as you say. One of the components of Glam Lab is a shade finder. And what that means is it helps to analyze your image and understand your tone, your skin tone and undertone. What we think, though, is really pretty cool about this tool, and one of the ways that it has really evolved, is that it's not just a digital tool for you to, for one, it certainly is a digital tool, right? But what we found is that it's not only for our guests, but it also is for our beauty advisors in our physical stores. And the reason that we say that and kind of how that can come to life in the physical stores is that it creates a little bit more of a two-way conversation, more collaboration. And the example is, if a guest is coming into the physical store, one of the things that the beauty advisors in the store will actually do if they're looking for a foundation is they'll encourage them to use the shade finder. One, because that educates our guests as well. It educates them on their tone and undertone. And it's really not as easy as just saying, well, here's your tone, undertone. A beauty advisor and a beauty expert is going to know that. But oftentimes we might like a shade lighter or darker. So one of the cool capabilities with the shade finder is that the beauty advisor in the store can have the guest do an analysis, find their particular tone, undertone. If they want to go a couple of shades darker or lighter, they kind of know that range, and then they can work back with the beauty advisor, and within the breadth of the assortment in the store, they can have the beauty advisor then suggest, here's products in the store that you might want to take a look at that will meet your needs. So we think it's really, it's a great tool because, again, it helps educate the guest. Now they've got this cool tool. They know what their tone and undertone is. They can look for the variety of foundations that really might look great on them. And again, it creates a little bit more of it's education, and then there's collaboration in the physical store.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And we talked a little bit about how these tools have been around for quite a bit. Obviously, this is an area where COVID, you said there was a significant increase in the usage of the tools, but as consumers are getting back to store, that is where the advisors are picking up and really using the tools to help find those shades. Can you talk a little bit more about during COVID, when suddenly these tools were being used more regularly? I know you talked a little bit about how it was all hands on deck in the Ulta stores to get the products logged and cataloged. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and would love to. Maybe one thing for sure, right, is that, at Ulta, Ulta Beauty puts the guest at the center of everything that we do. And, there can be nothing more personal more personalized than your visual characteristics. We all look different. We're all beautiful, right? We always kind of put the guest at the center of everything. And tools, again, like virtual try-on, we've had virtual try-on in Glam Lab since 2016. And the pandemic, we all know that it accelerated digital. It was great to have a tool like Glam Lab, because one of the things that Mandy, you and I were talking about is that with the pandemic, stores were closed, but they were still able to experiment. Thinking about the guest, we still wanted them to have ways that they could experiment and learn and enjoy beauty. So something like Glam Lab, it's not just shade finder, but it also, again, does a visual analysis, and it's going to understand your lips, your eyes. You can put eyeshadows on, lipsticks, lip glosses, etc. Right? So it creates this, this digital experimentation. And with the pandemic, stores were closed. It was still a way for them to experiment, kind of find shades that they liked. When stores opened, right, one of the things that happened when stores opened because of the pandemic is we no longer had testers. So testers in beauty were not there. But again, and by the way, testers may not have been there, but when the doors opened, the guests came back. I mean, in the beauty industry, these are highly engaged beauty enthusiasts. So they want, they basically want to shop wherever beauty is. They came back. They still were able to experiment and play through the use of Glam Lab. Another thing to think about is even when testers came back, if we think about the, how this flows after the pandemic, even when testers came back, there are many brands that don't have testers, maybe really small brands, mass brands. So this provides a real way for everyone to, get accessibility to this tool. And then as a result of the pandemic and knowing that this tool was so useful, one of the things that we ensured is we leveraged a lot of the beauty advisors from the field during that time to help us calibrate, what we call calibrate the product or get it ready for try on, because you have to know the exact color. You want to know the texture. So items are calibrated. And what was great about that is that then we basically built product champions for Glam Lab and for this tool. And in many ways, even had our beauty advisors had a deeper understanding of how this tool could be used by our guests when they're looking for beauty, whether it's out of the store or in store. It's a tool that's just become, it's really even become supercharged as a result of the pandemic.
Yeah, I love that. I like so much. I mean, seeing a tool like that, you think it's all about driving e-commerce, but I love the fact that you're creating digital innovation for the actual in-store experience and driving consumers in store to use both the beauty advisor, but then also these digital tools. I want to touch on something you just mentioned. You mentioned some smaller brands that don't necessarily have testers. And so just thinking about that, one of the things we talked about is how Ulta Beauty's unique value prop was marrying larger brands like Estee Lauder, L'Oreal, with some of the smaller, more emerging brands like Juvia, Place, and Tula. So it's kind of similar to Yelp. We work with small local businesses, but then we're also working with large multi-location businesses like Ulta Beauty. I'm curious how you use digital innovation beside the Glam Lab, which is a way that you're kind of exposing people to other smaller brands. What are some other ways that you're using digital innovations to help with both small and large brands?
Well, one of the things, that I would say is that, there's a couple of things from a digital innovation perspective. One, I kind of like to say that, we're the equal opportunity beauty retailer. So it's in our DNA, right? This breadth of the assortment, high, low, right? Mass brands, prestige, masstige, right? Across all categories. So, very much what we want is, again, kind of thinking about the guest and putting the guest at the center of what we do. We want them to have, to be able to experience any brand that they're interested in. And we want that accessibility to be there. Many larger organizations, larger brands have accessibility to a lot of these tools like virtual try-on, where a small brand may not. They may not have, maybe, they don't have the capability to build something like that. One of the things that from a digital innovation perspective is, our motto is all things beauty. We used to say, all things beauty all in one place, and we've changed that. It's, evolved to be all things beauty all in their world. And when we think about digital innovation, we want our tools to be able to be leveraged by all of our brands. So not only are we making the beauty products and the services available, but we like to think that we're making our tools available too. So Glam Lab, again, in all of the color cosmetics, we've calibrated everything so that the guest can experience brands like Tula, Juvia's Place, a mass brand, or they can experience Lancome, Estee Lauder, Chanel, whatever the case may be, they have that same experience. And other things that we're doing is, when we think about from an innovation perspective, we're using data science. We're obviously looking at a lot of the data that is unique to our guests, and we're personalizing the experience. But we're doing that, again, kind of equal opportunity beauty retailer. We're doing that, we're looking at all of the data, and then we're surfacing across, the breadth of the brands within a particular category that a guest may be looking for. We're surfacing things like information, reviews is one example, and we're showing people, what guests are saying. So we're using our capability related to data science to personalize the experience, across all brands. So personalization tools like virtual try-on. There's many things that anything that we do, we want them to be accessible to, and to actually provide some of these tools to all of our brands.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think that's a huge benefit of being one of your partners. So just speaking about data, how do you internally measure the success of these tools? Like, how do you know if your team has hit the right product with some of your innovations?
Right. What I would say is, not to, everybody may be waiting for some great, great number or something. We generally don't, we don't get into particulars like that. But what I would say is, for everyone and kind of for the audience, right, it's what you would expect. We're certainly going to look at something like, if you think about, a digital experience or a physical experience in the store, it's how many people are shopping and then placing orders, right? Transactions are certainly key. It's no different online in the digital properties. How many people looked at something? How many people put something into their cart? How many actually converted and placed an order, right? So we look at things, right? Digitally, we can see, what are you looking at? What are you interested in, right? We look at click-throughs, emails. Have they clicked on something? Did they come from a location like Yelp? So did they see something out in the internet and then they were directed to us? We measure all of that. No different with our new tools. The question really is, well, was it beneficial for our guest? Did the guest, was this something that really helped the guest? And so what we do is we measure things like, what are the number of try-ons, as an example? How many try-ons, if someone is using the Glam Lab tool, it's kind of like a try-on version of browse. They're looking at something, they're trying it on. So we measure number of try-ons. We measure things like number of shades tried on. And then, of course, we also look at, if they tried something on, did they add it to bag, and did they convert, right? So we measure those things. We certainly, you and I talked about the fact that we certainly would have the capability, right? If we knew you were a part of our loyalty program and you were using the try-on experience, again, as an example, you tried something on and then a week later, you came into our store and made a purchase, we could connect that. So it's, transactions, but I think one of the really important things for us in measurement is, do we see the level of engagement, right? Do we see that of the guests using Glam Lab, other than just, are they buying something? Of course, we're a retailer, we want that, but what's the level of engagement? And that's why, if we look at the number of shades that they try on, it's so important, because digitally you can try on a lot of shades. And if you think about that, when you convert that to the physical environment, the way that we do it, we beauty enthusiasts, is we're going to physically maybe swatch it. We might use, an applicator, we might try it on, and that takes time. So this way, it's just, again, we're going to measure the engagement, and what we would say is digitally, it's probably much more efficient to try on more of a variety across brands very efficiently.
So through the Glam Lab that I was trying on green and red and black and blue eyeliners, all different ones recently, just to have a little bit of fun there. So it really is, it's a very fun tool. So I encourage everyone to give it a go. I wanted to pivot a little bit, Michelle, and talk about, in beauty, there's so much trend forecasting. I think it's a lot of fun to kind of try and figure out what the next best and big thing is going to be. And interestingly, we have tons of search data at Yelp. So we're always looking at what consumers are bringing up and searching for, and kind of able to predict a little bit the trends. So in our recent beauty trends forecast, we started to see that searches for services like glow facials and body contouring were up 66 and 35% year over year. And what the report showed overall is that there was a real increased appetite for non-invasive face and body procedures. I'm just wondering, is that what you're seeing at Ulta? Or are you seeing other trends? If you could speak a little bit to that, and then how you think about creating digital innovation experiences to meet those demands.
Sure, and I wish like I'm not like some of my merchant friends were basically with me. I don't know that I'm going to be the best one to that you and I, right? We're not here to. We'd love to talk about what is body contouring and and glow facials, right? So this isn't a class on just on glow facials. We are doing fashion and beauty marketing. But for sure, what's been emerging, right, is there really has been, it's been coming and it's getting stronger, the connection between beauty and health. Beauty and health, really are converging, and what does that mean? Well, beauty enthusiasts, people are beginning to understand that what they put in their bodies, right, what they expose themselves to, the environment, kind of everything around them, that really contributes to their beauty, right? And, their level of health and how healthy they are, and what that definition is, right? It could be, this could even be, kind of mind and body, right? I mean, kind of all of these things really get wrapped into health and beauty. And so how this shows up in beauty and how it shows up, for Ulta are things like ingestibles, right? And we have, one of the things that you can find on Ulta.com is we have a wellness shop, and the wellness shop is going to kind of bring, basically bring to the forefront the items and the brands that we have that are, again, they're more than maybe what we put, externally on ourselves to look good, feel good, right? But also things like an ingestible, something that's good for our hair, something that's good for our skin, something that's just a multivitamin, right? Topicals that could be good, again, for, the health of our skin, or super moisturizing. So wellness and, for sure, wellness, health, and beauty intersecting, right? These are really, these are trends that we see. We see wearables that kind of connect with having all the biometric information about people, that people want to connect some of the information from their wearables into their everyday, so that if they know kind of maybe, the level of the amount of water that they're consuming, maybe that they can determine that they have a level of moisture that other people may not. And maybe that tells them the type of skin moisturizer to use. Wellness for sure. And then what I would say is what has been deemed kind of clean beauty, we call it conscious beauty. So conscious beauty it's all about the ingredients. I mean, more and more in our everyday lives, science is basically just, taking over. And the formulation, how a product is made, the level of sustainability, the level of ingredients that are in a part of that are a part of a formulation that are good for the planet, good for the person, right? This is really, it's been a theme, but it's getting stronger and stronger. If anything, in the US, in much of the rest of the world, from a beauty perspective, they have strong regulations on the ingredient list, what can and cannot be used. In the US, not so much. So what we see, right, and has been emerging is, particularly in some of the younger generation, the Gen Z, they're demanding it. They're demanding that the formulations really be thoughtful and that you're conscious of what you're putting into a program, how you're packaging it.
Yeah.
So the two key themes, and there are plenty more, but I would say conscious beauty, health and beauty, what's good for you, conscious beauty, what's good for the planet. These are two key themes. And then last, I would just add is that in both, science, is certainly underneath them and kind of supercharging them because of some of the capabilities that we have today.
Yeah, we talked a lot about conscious beauty and whatnot, and I think that's super interesting about how technology, the wearables, how it's all coming together, and helping inform what you're going to use. We actually have a question from the audience here, and a little bit on the topic of wellness, and I'm not sure this one's going to be in your wheelhouse exactly, Michelle, but I'll ask. Alex in the audience is just asking if Ulta Beauty is exploring products and seeing the adoption of CBD infused products.
Absolutely, right. And CBD, no doubt, that is a huge trend. We certainly, we've seen an emergence of it. Again, at that particular, CBD is in a variety of different categories. But that is absolutely a trend. We, like in one of the ways that we think about it, right, when we go back to thinking about ingredients, right, is what people are looking for. Oftentimes they're looking for a particular ingredient. And so, previously people may have looked for a brand, they may have looked for a price point, right? No, now they're looking and they really want to understand the composition. They may want to do a search for CBD products as an example. And so we need to get smarter and actually take some of the ingredients, something like CBD that's a part of a formulation, right? We need to be able to expose that, and we need to understand not just the scientific chart of elements, right? But what does it mean? What does it mean to the guest, and kind of turn those into, terminology that makes sense to our guests. So CBD for sure, huge trend. And it's definitely something that the beauty, like the beauty enthusiast, as we say, but people in the beauty space are looking for products that, have that as a part of their makeup.
Okay, and on that note, it sounds like you are embracing that trend. And so Julie in our audience actually asked another question, and it sounds like you're looking at some of that search data to inform those products and what's coming up. So she was just asking how your team uses that data to inform other trends Ulta is going to embrace. So what is your team looking at?
Well, I'm, for sure, probably not different than a lot of people, for sure, we're looking at when you said, Julie kind of mentioned, she said search. And so absolutely, right, and have been for years, right, what people search for, both online on the digital property, our own, as well as on the internet at large. We obviously look at that. We look at the keywords, we look at the terms. We hope that we're doing a good job from a digital marketing perspective, kind of buying terms that are important. Hyaluronic acid, if people are looking for that, things became, right, mask knee, right, became a trend with the pandemic, where because of the mask, people were experiencing breakouts. So did we see that potentially there was a trend that was driving a need for a different type of a skincare product? For sure. So we definitely, we monitor, we look at external kind of, like the trends that are on the internet at large. We look at the what people are searching for. Browsing may not just be a organic search, right, but it also may be how they are navigating, so we're going to evaluate that. We're going to see that maybe, in their navigation, maybe they're going stronger into a particular category. For sure, I think one of the things that we talked about, right, is as a result of the pandemic, one of the things that we found people searching more for was above the mask. It's like people were looking for Their eyes were still visible, lips were behind the mask, but for their eyes, suddenly we saw greater search around eyeshadow, lashes, mascara, right? And then, knowing that, or, we can pivot. And we think that we can, because of kind of our personalization capabilities and the data science that we have, that we can pivot pretty quickly by analyzing that, seeing an increase in engagement in a particular area. And then what we will do is we would then modify our digital marketing to meet those needs.
Yeah, that's great. I kicked my lip gloss habit during the
Well,
pandemic.
let's hope that, right, we're going to be, now here we all are on all these calls for hours that, we can have a nice lip color.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Actually, this just made me think of another question, not to put you on the spot here, but thinking about Julie's question around trends in Glam Lab, can you see, playing with it again myself, like there's a wider range of colors and all the different types of cosmetics. Can you see like what consumers are leaning toward to know, I don't know, we're going to go back to the 80s and have like bright blues and bright greens on our eyes and things, or people are tending to be more neutral? Like, is that the type of data and trends you're also able to ingest?
Well, I mean, again, if you think about virtual try-on, that's a great question, Mandy. When you think about virtual try-on, it's, we think it's just like, this gives us, like, this is uber personalization, because there can't be anything more personal, I think we mentioned it, than what you look like, right? So for sure, now what we're seeing, and when you think about that, think about the experience in the digital store, right? People may be shopping the store and they are looking for certain things, but you don't know what they're basically, what they're looking at, what they're experimenting with. Digitally, what we know is we may know that you're searching for a color, and so we can look at the colors that are associated with things. But even more important, now we can see that you're trying on lighter shades of red. And if you've done, if you've used Glam Lab and you've used Shade Finder, and you, of course, want us, you provide that information to us, that's obviously you opt in. If you do that, then we know your tone, undertone, so we know your skin tone, and then we know you're looking at light shades of red, and we know other people like you. Let's say there is a trend that everyone is looking at light shades of red, for example. So we think with Glam Lab, one of the things is that it brings color really to life, that it kind of explodes the topic of color. And, the rainbow of colors in the world, right? It's the rainbow of colors that comprise us, and then the products that basically are leveraged, because, a lot of people like, I might like to put on, we were talking about it, maybe I want to wear a black lipstick or a blue. Maybe it's not just about what's going to look good or what I think is going to look good on my skin tone, but something that just, I want to wear and that I think defines me. So something like Glam Lab really, really elevates some of the visual properties of the products, and brings them to life, in a different way, so that you can really get a little bit more granular, on trends from that perspective.
Absolutely. I think it definitely gives you an opportunity to have fun with some of the colors. And we even talked about how testers in the store, you're probably not going to test 12 different shades of something. You're going to select a few, but like in Glam Lab, you can kind of quickly go through the various ones.
You can, you can do it very efficiently, right? And again, it's that, for sure we can look at, and the other thing is it's kind of no different, right? That if we know, the more we know about, basically, the beauty enthusiast, the better we can get at ensuring that we really are meeting the needs of all of our guests, right? I mean, which is important to us, right? Of course, our guests are, our guests are everything. So we really want to make sure that if in fact, we might see, maybe we do see, a set of our guests, and maybe they're trying things on and we don't really see them then evolving to, to the cart, to purchasing something. Maybe it's because we really don't have anything that meets their visual needs, whatever that might be. I mean, it could be maybe they're getting ready for Halloween, a holiday, who knows what, right? And maybe, depending, maybe there's something that we don't have and that we actually need to fill in our assortment with a particular, and it could be, again, think color, it could be an ingredient in a particular category. So, it absolutely is, again, it gives us a key tool that ultimately what we want to do is, it isn't just about, digital and everything kind of going virtual, but more it's bringing that experimentation to the forefront, allowing the guest, to have access to whatever they're interested in, and then making sure that the assortment, when, like basically whatever the assortment we have is and what our marketing strategy is, that we're really speaking to, the needs of the, like of the beauty enthusiast, and when they walk in the store, if they need something immediately or they want to come in and really touch and feel it, right, that it's available in the store.
Yeah, that's a really great segue as well into my next question as we start to wind down here. So you talked about going in store. One of the things Yelp wanted to highlight toward the end of 2021 was the fact that we saw an 8% increase in new business openings. And I think, amongst COVID, which has been a roller coaster for everyone, we were really excited to see that. I know that new store openings are a priority for Ulta. Obviously, we saw your partnership with Target. I read that in 2021, 42 new stores opened for Ulta, showing that there definitely is demand for consumers wanting to go in store. I'm just wondering, as all businesses continue this road to economic recovery, what's a best practice you can share with everyone listening here from a marketing perspective and a digital innovation perspective?
Well, it was when I think about, really what we would say, I think what Ulta Beauty, I hope, Ulta would agree, and, anyone out there with Ulta kind of, this resonates with them, right, is that, I think how we really think about this, and I mentioned it before, but our marketing message, really the message, we've certainly been on a journey to evolve that. And we really think about it as all things beauty, all in their world. Not all in one place. We've really pivoted, and we think that's super important, and we've been on a journey, right? That's why digital is important, physical is important, because if you think about it from the guest and put the guest lens on, you meet them where they are, where they want to be, whether it's social, in a digital work, like digital property, in a physical store. So all things beauty, all in their world. It's the reason that we obviously, stores are critically important to us. Our beauty enthusiasts still want to come in the store. They want to experiment. We have services. It's still very hard. You might be able to dabble with hairstyles, but you still need someone. You could cut it yourself. You could. And some people may have learned to cut their own hair by now, right? But if you, want a little help with that, someone's going to need to cut your hair. So, we think the physical stores are important. We think location, right? Obviously, Ulta, from the very beginning of time, we think we chose our locations. Very importantly, we're meeting the guest where they are, right? A lot of our locations are destinations. Omni-channel is huge to us. We recognize for sure, I think everyone out there does, that again, all things beauty, all in their world. If they want to experiment, look for something and have it shipped to their home, they can. If they want to look for something, go in store and pick it up, get it faster, they can. If they want it in a couple of hours, right, we're certainly playing around with some same day delivery. We also have the capability that if you want to come to the store and pick it up curbside, right, you don't want to come into the store. So all of these different formats, right, for sure, listen to the guest. We listen to our guests, we listen to them through search, we listen to them through the reviews, Q&A, in social communities and in physical stores. We watch the behavior. Where are they looking to, to get their product? Where are they looking to just engage and have fun with beauty? And we meet them, in every place that they're located.
Yeah, I think definitely having the guest at the center of everything is something that I see Ulta Beauty doing really, really well. And it sounds like you really are making a lot of strides to meet them where they are and with what they want. So just last question here. We have a couple minutes left. So last question about reviews. Obviously, in this new normal, consumer reviews are more important now than ever before. And I think everyone knows consumer reviews are part of Yelp's foundation, and we work really hard to feature content that reflects real experiences. So we don't allow businesses to solicit for consumer reviews. We have recommendation software that recommends the most reliable content, and we have teams and policies in place to protect both our consumers our consumers as well as businesses. And so I'm just curious, you mentioned a little bit earlier in our conversation looking at reviews, but how are you using consumer review content to help guide your innovation roadmap?
Well, there's a kindred spirit there, right? We are kindred spirits because reviews are super important. And, for the beauty community, right, beauty enthusiasts are highly engaged. We have look at the explosion of interaction on, social platforms, Yelp certainly being one of them, and YouTube and Instagram, et cetera, right? It just says only that beauty enthusiasts are highly engaged. And people want to hear what other people are saying. So for sure, they want to listen to an expert, come in the store, talk to people, via video chats, things of that nature. But most importantly, they actually want to hear what everybody else is saying. So we see that reviews, whether they are written, whether they are, it's audio or they're video, it's a form of a review. We think they're super important. We know they're super important. And we listen to the guests because we share them, right? We share them with other guests, and we bring to life, the capability for you as a beauty enthusiast to look for something based upon what people are saying. Right. So we think it's incredibly important, and we recognize the fact that, we listen to our guests listen to other guests. Reviews are super critically important. I look at reviews all the time when I'm thinking about something or I'm kind of learning about something, because more and more we trust each other. We trust the opinion of someone that maybe is like us. Right. So the reviews are critically important. And we think that putting the lens of what other people are saying, kind of, for the most part, once again, it's a little bit of like an equal opportunity. Everyone can be an expert. So let's hear their voices.